Hey guys, All in Crypto here and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. Of course, I wasn't going to leave you guys on a day like today without an update because the market is selling off. Bitcoin has sold off. We're going to touch on that. We're going to focus on that, and we're not only going to do that, but we're going to relate it to the overall crypto market. This is the total money in crypto. I am going to be telling you guys exactly what is going on. And I am not only going to do that, but hopefully by me doing that, you guys are going to develop a skill, for those of you who don't already possess that skill, to look at markets, look at macroeconomics, and do some critical thinking and come up with reasons why we have events like this. And let me just tell you right now, in the grand scheme of things, Bitcoin, in comparison with the assets that I'm about to show you that have reacted to the same thing that has brought Bitcoin down, has done relatively well. In fact, this is a relatively mild sell-off in the grand scheme of things. We're going to be covering it all in this video, so stay tuned. Make sure that you pay attention, guys, because I am going to be teaching you not only about the crypto space here, but the overall markets. When people think about finance and they think about sort of macroeconomics and stuff like that, it sounds very boring and dull, but it affects everybody directly and is actually one of the most interesting subjects to research, to learn about. We're really going to be covering a lot of things in this video, and we know that the markets are selling off today, guys. I am still, and I'm going to say this straight off the bat, maintaining my bias, and my biases are going to be left at the door from this point on when I'm explaining what's going on, because I'm going to try and stay as unbiased as possible and really just tell you the bare bones of exactly what's happening. I do not think that Bitcoin is going to fall below where we essentially wick down to. I think this is the bottom for Bitcoin, and I still think we're going to recover. We're going to talk about why that is in this video towards the end, but what I'm going to do to start is I'm going to show you exactly, and bearing in mind, ladies and gentlemen, I could be absolutely wrong. Crypto is the most volatile asset out there, and you need to understand that there is a risk associated with you being in the crypto space. I learned the hard way. I also have a very high risk tolerance because of my age. You know, I'm young enough to literally lose everything, and I would pick myself up, brush myself off, and continue and try and find a new way of doing things. But essentially, why Bitcoin is selling off right now has nothing to do with Bitcoin's merit. Yes, we know that miners all over China are getting shut down due to China's authoritarian government that essentially see Bitcoin as a threat to their totalitarian control. But essentially, there's something bigger going on play. Now, this is Bitcoin and what's recently happened. This is gold, by the way, guys. Also sold off. This is lumber. How many of you guys heard about the lumber price going sky high? It's also sold off. This is the Dow Jones Industrial Average Index. It's also sold off. Now, what do all these charts that have all sold off recently have in common? One thing. They are all compared to the US dollar. This is the US dollar currency index. And you can see the opposite has taken place here. A couple of videos ago, we spoke to you, and please do not think for 1 second that just because we're in crypto and we're essentially trying to revolutionize, perhaps move away and come up with our own sort of financial system. Please do not think that you are immune to the macroeconomics of everything, because when the dollar gains strength, it affects everything that is compared against it. So that's commodities, stocks, equities, everything. The only thing that it is good for, necessarily, is bonds. Debt. So I'm going to go over that again because people need to, if you want to get into the financial markets, you need to understand how macroeconomics work. And the fact that the Fed, the Federal Reserve in the United States, and what they decide to do in regards with their policies, whether they decide to up interest rates, for example, which would see a sell-off across the board because it would mean the dollar would gain more relative strength. And the dollar has gained this strength really on Jerome Powell saying, instead of 2024, we're going to bring it to 2023 and look up in interest rates. And then you had somebody else say, actually, it's probably going to be as soon as 2022. And then someone said, well, it could be towards the end of this year. So it's all complete speculation, but it has caused the markets to do this. And people, when they think that the dollar is going to gain strength, will pull liquidity out of everything. And Bitcoin, and I know the crypto space is liquid firsthand because I pulled money out of it numerous occasions with little to no resistance. Whereas if I want to liquidate some of my stocks, yes, it's not that hard with certain apps nowadays, but traditionally it's a bit of a nightmare, certainly if there's a large amount of them. Or let's say, you want to get rid of your gold and silver or whatever it is, people will take from the most liquid asset. And the sell-off that Bitcoin has seen, and let's just measure it, I think it's about 18% roughly, about 19%, that's not 100% accurate. This is gold. Now, remember, crypto is a lot higher beta. So crypto is going to react more volatilely than these traditional sort of assets. Lumber, why do you think the Fed couldn't, the Federal Reserve and the people who are in the know cannot allow all these prices to just go sky high? Because then they have a clear inflation and people start to go, why would I want to hold the dollar? They have to keep a lid on it. They have to keep perpetuating this Ponzi scheme. And that's all you're seeing here, guys. This is macroeconomics. Go and look, and I urge each and every one of you out there, go and look. There's nothing make-believe here. I'm talking to you about facts. Go and look at how the US dollar came into existence and what a bad deal it is. I'm not just referencing the US dollar here. I'm referencing all fiat systems. Because we went from having a tangible, real monetary system, whether that be seashells or whether that be the Ankh stones or whether that be salt throughout history, to having something that essentially somebody told you was worth it and you went, okay, that's fine. That is what this is all about. That's why you're seeing this sell-off right now, guys. I know people get worried. I'm not worried. I still, like I say, and I made sure to point out that my bias is still a bullish one. I believe in Bitcoin. I believe in the crypto space, and I believe in the properties that blockchain technology is going to bring to the world. That hasn't changed. So these short-term price movements, this tomfoolery that the Federal Reserve are playing to try and preserve their Ponzi scheme that will come to an end at some point, whether that be via the dollar milkshake theory or whatever that may be, it is going to come to an end and something will replace it. Now, that could just be a new version of what the US dollar that they package up and say, oh, it's completely different, and they peg it to loads of different things. I don't know. But understand that what you're seeing, the only chart that I don't like the look of essentially is the total money in the crypto space. Although you've not sold off into a new low in this range, similar with Bitcoin, it looks a little bit weaker. That's because alts typically sell off harder than Bitcoin. Bitcoin's showing more strength against altcoins in a lot of respects. I still believe that you're ranging here. This is accumulation. We spoke to you. This is an accumulation zone. How am I wrong? And let me just point out that I am not 100% right about everything. I could be absolutely wrong. I said Bitcoin had bottomed here. It's essentially looked very hairy on a number of occasions. We came up with that for a number of reasons. One, I believe I'm in a bull market, and that bull markets, essentially aren't going to sell off like 90% or anything like that. Also the RSI, look, every time you get down here, the last time it happened was March 2020, you recover. We're not going to go into too much detail on why I think we bottomed, but essentially, and the point I was making was I could absolutely be wrong and we could go lower, but I believe that this is an accumulation zone here. They've distributed and now they're accumulating. Look at the Wyckoff schematic, guys, and look at this structure here. It looks very, very similar. The best thing Bitcoin can do is what it's doing. Keep consolidating in this range before we climb our way out, and we break out and we continue this bull run. I am convinced that's going to happen. However, I could be wrong, and bear that in mind. My risk tolerance is a lot higher than most people's because I can afford to lose everything. And I will pick myself up, dust myself off, and move on to the next thing. I'm young enough to do that. Your situation, do not risk the house that you and your family live in, or your kid. Do not do anything that is going to affect your children's or the people around you's futures. Everything I'm doing is going to affect me directly in regards to my investment strategy, and that's how you should be looking at it yourself. Because, and this isn't financial advice, by the way, guys, or just my opinion. You guys have to make your own decisions up. You have to be free thinkers. You have to be critical thinkers in this space, and that is hopefully what I'm showing you in this video, because this is exactly what's going on. It's obvious. Look at all these charts, commodities, equities, stocks, whatever, crypto, they all sold off and the dollar went up. This is literally based on the fact that they said they're going to probably have to up interest rates, which would be quite catastrophic for the investment side of things. Why is that? Well, I'll also explain that to you, because it means that companies that buy their own stocks back, or people that borrow money and leverage, wouldn't be able to do it to the excess that they have been, whether that's to leverage to buy their own stocks back, whether that's to leverage to buy something that's going to give them a higher percentage of the interest they've got to pay back. So this would discourage people from throwing money into the markets, because there would be a higher risk associated, there'd be a higher interest associated with it. And that's really all it comes down to. Similar for the housing market, for example, people wouldn't be able to as easily afford to buy houses because there would be an extra risk factor involved, because payments would be higher, because the US dollar would be, it would become stronger essentially. So I hope what I'm showing you is making some sense. Of course, I wasn't going to leave you guys on a day like today. We like to come out, because we have said, look, we think we bottomed here. And I could absolutely be wrong, but I'm still sticking to that and still acting accordingly. And every time we get into this lower band on the RSI, guys, on the 4 hourly, I buy. And I could be a complete fool and made to look the biggest idiot, but that's just the bias that I'm sticking to. We know the market sold off $1.4 trillion. Lots of people talking about the death cross, lots of people talking about this being a macro head and shoulders. We have a record number of Ethereum options expiring. There is lots going on, lots of negativity. China are just completely throwing out anybody that has anything to do with Bitcoin. Why do you think they might do that? People don't even realize that Google, Facebook, all these basic things that the Western world has is banned in China. Not just the Western world, the world as large is banned in China. They do that because they are a totalitarian state that controls their population with an iron fist. Do you really think they were going to let Bitcoin flourish over there? It also isn't a bad thing. There are two sides. There are polars to everything in life, guys. Them throwing the miners out of China helps to decentralize the hash power of Bitcoin. We've seen a huge drop off in the hash rate. That's because the majority of hash rate came from China. What I'm saying may be going over a lot of your heads, but I hope what isn't is what I've shown you here. And if you look in the grand scheme of things, Bitcoin sell-off, in comparison with gold, in retrospect, by the way, don't look at percentages, because we know that, and there are some that are significantly worse in terms of percentages, like lumber, 50%. If lumber just continued to go up, people would literally go, hang on, we're just going to start buying wood instead of the US dollar. We're just going to, every time we get paid, we're just going to flip it over to wood. This is even the Dow Jones, guys, has come down significantly. Whilst the US dollar's essentially gone up, we don't need the MA for this. So I hope what I'm showing you makes sense. Let's quickly touch on the shorts. Exactly what we said was going to happen in regards to the shorts. These are the amount of shorts in green that have been put on. We essentially said that that was a really bad draw there. It's been one of those days, guys. These were the shorts. We said that you are going to come straight back down and get met with the longs. Remember, this is only on one exchange, Bitfinex, so it's not the be all and end all. So we're still sticking to our bias, guys. We think there is a lot of, we could be wrong. Could we be entering a bear market? Depends how you define a bear market. There are so many theories, like the lengthening cycle theory getting thrown around. The fact that the cycles could be getting significantly smaller and we could be having miniature cycles, and I'm talking about the 4-year cycle theory here, guys, and how, it kind of dictates around the Bitcoin halving. There's lots going on, ladies and gentlemen, but ultimately I'm still in an accumulation game myself. We know that companies like Grayscale and that bought about $2 billion worth of Bitcoin last weekend, so they're still buying. The infrastructure is getting continually built, and everyone, and I'm gonna wrap this video up. Hopefully I've given you a good enough explanation for what's going on right now. But everyone was so happy for institutions to be here. Well, this is what institutions do, guys. We saw that with the Wyckoff distribution. We're going to see that with the accumulation, and they're going to continue to manipulate this money, because how they make money, the institutions, and this is the fact, is by taking it off people like me and you. So you got to get smart, get wise, get educated, and start to do some critical thinking and look at the macro scale of things. Don't just be focused on crypto. Crypto is, in my opinion, the fastest horse in this race in regards to how much money you can make. But that is being, if conditions are essentially met for it to flourish. That is all I have for you in this video, guys. I'm going to love and leave you. Go and look at some of these charts. Very, very revealing. Remember, gold. This is lumber. This is the Dow Jones. This is the dollar. The rest of them are down, the dollar's up. All I have for you, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to love and leave you. Hopefully I'll see you all on tomorrow's video. Do not fear, guys. All in crypto is here. See you tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen.